Okay, we are starting standing postures. Yay! Using the book. And sometimes you'll notice in general, the books that are on your list the pages may be a little bit off on the books I'm using because I'm using ones from that are 10 years old. Um, but it's the same book. You just might have a newer revision. Um, But we are going to start with the standing postures. I do want to mention, please be sure to read the beginning stuff, asanas. And each section starts with just this one little page of info that starts each section. So please make sure you read it. It has some good information in there, that just kind of gives you a better understanding of why it's important to do these postures and why it's important to do different elements like standing and seated and twisting. So as a teacher, especially if you're going to teach, it's good to understand that. But definitely read the beginning stuff. I do want to point out the asanas have some cautions at the very beginning where it talks about asanas, and throughout it will mention some cautions. Definitely read those. Everybody is different though, so these are general guidelines. I would not say they apply to everybody. They're not like hard and fast rules, but they do need to be stated. One, to just let people know, especially if they're new to yoga, they may not know they need to use more caution in certain postures, and some people may not listen to their bodies. So it is important, and also as a teacher, to cover yourself. Sorry, got to open the door for my cat. For yourself, to cover yourself, you want to make sure you're covered as far as liability. Unfortunately, we have to think about that. So it's good to mention these cautions, and then they can decide if they should do the posture or not, and they could talk with their doctor if needed. But just understanding they're general guidelines. They aren't like I said, hard and fast rules that have to be adhered to. I mean, especially when it talks about menstruation, I enjoy doing a full practice when I would be having my period. Some people don't. I loved doing twisting postures, and I even like to do some inversion. I know there's, different reasons as to why they say don't do them, but again, I think it's important to listen to your body. What is your body wanting and needing from you? So, with that being said, we're going to begin standing postures. And just for the sake of making it easier to get these video portions uploaded, I really try to keep them about 10 minutes or less. It's just easier to get them uploaded for you all to view. So we will start with the first few postures, and probably I will record in sections of 3 to 4 postures depending on how much I need to say about the postures. So we'll start with Tadasana, which is mountain pose. You do need to start to understand the Sanskrit words that go with the English. So Tadasana is the Sanskrit for what we call mountain pose. We'll talk more about the Sanskrit because some of them can, get really confusing and tongue-tying. Don't fret. We will get this. We will be doing them so much, and with you doing posture worksheets and practice teaching so much, that's why you want to do that, because you'll be able to get used to saying the Sanskrit and understanding the English and knowing which ones go together. So, but we're going to start with this one, and you would think this is a pretty straightforward posture, mountain pose. You come to standing, and legs are together, arms down by the sides, chin is level. However, sometimes you may want to take your time with Tadasana and let people understand that it's not just a posture to use for transition or beginning another posture. Sometimes we overlook some of the postures that get used as transition poses a lot. we take them for granted and we don't give them the credit they deserve in how beneficial they can be. And mountain pose is definitely one that gets overlooked and is just, we come into standing and kind of overlook what it can do for us. And, it also gets overlooked as to what is the best version of Tadasana for us. And again, we're all different, so it's going to be different. But if you understand that it's not simply coming into standing, there are other things that go into it, you'll be a better teacher, and you'll let your students feel more at ease when they understand, there are different ways I can come into Tadasana. So first of all, talking about the legs. The legs generally are together, but they don't have to be. If someone feels very unbalanced and unstable by putting the feet close together, why would we want them in that posture? They're not going to be able to go on to the next posture if they're already off balance in Tadasana. So letting them know there can be some space between the feet is very comforting to some people. So let them know that. And you can play around with the feet, and we're going to get more into a foot posture later in the course, but just understanding, you can kind of move around in the ankles. Where do you feel that balance? Let that be your solid foundation. So space can be between the feet and legs. Then you want to feel rooted and grounded, but then you want the rest of the body to feel lifted. So that energy should be lifting, spine should be lifting, and shoulder blades should draw towards one another. So we don't want that movement to come from here because we have a tendency, us overachievers, to shove. We want the movement to come from the blades. We want that gentle pull rather than a big shove. So that helps us to open that chest and lift the body further. The cervical spine, back of the neck, should be long, chin level. And just noticing, we have a tendency because of electronics for this to be happening. Chin coming forward. So just kind of notice and instruct them sometimes. You don't have to take as long in Tadasana as I'm taking right now. You can. Sometimes I really do break down Tadasana, but I don't do it every time. So just making sure, does that chin need to come back slightly? Core should be engaged here. So already, if you're doing all of these elements, you feel the thighs gently pulling up, the core is engaged, blades are gently pulling, and the spine is long. This is a workout. If you stand here long enough, you will feel all of the muscles working. But we don't generally give Tadasana enough time. So those are all of the different elements in Tadasana. So make sure that you practice those and get familiar with them so you can offer them to students when needed. Okay, so since I was talking about the beginning of the book and some other things before we got started, I'm going to stop here, even though we only did one posture. I know you're like just chomping at the bit to get into these postures, but I'm going to stop the recording here, and then I will pick back up with the next one, which is Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana.